I definitely do think that getting a beaver tail is part of the Canadian experience.
I believe so. I think Canada's capital beaver tail is Canadian. It's not in Toronto, as we found out, but I think it's part of the whole experience.
Yeah, I do. I think everyone refers to it when they're speaking of what is Canadian. It always comes up. So yeah, I guess we would consider it authentic. I don't know if others would, but I think internally we do. Yeah.
People come to Ottawa to get a beaver tail, right? If you go anywhere else, it may be kind of like, on the rocks, kind of, unsure of what it is. But if you're coming to Ottawa, the capital of Canada, you're getting a beaver tail, you're making sure you have this experience. So I think it is important.
I'm not from Canada, so I asked her, show me something about Canada, and she bring me here, so yeah, sounds Canadian for me.
And you guys had the poutine as well?
Yeah, I had poutine yesterday, because I'm leaving the country, so I had to try what you have here and only here, so for me it's poutine and beaver tail.
Nice.
So I think poutine is probably one of the most stereotypical Canadian foods you can get, but I think it becomes what makes it what I identify with it as Canadian is the experience. So you often find, like in Quebec especially, these small chip stands on the side of highways or nestled in small residential areas where you don't really want to eat anything except their poutine because most of their burgers and fries are kind of crummy. But they're amazing Quebec cheese curds and wicked good, like grandma's gravy poured onto their crappy fries make it amazing. So I think with that, it makes it identifiable as a Canadian thing.
Cool.
Absolutely. You know what? Like, you have people coming in here all the time. You'll have them, they come from anywhere, U.S., China, anywhere. They're coming over, and the first place they come to when they come into the city has to be here. They're either stopping here or they're coming over to the Beaver Tail shop, and they're coming to get it. Anybody they talk to says they have to come here. Friends, students, anybody. Everyone has to come here. If you were to think of anything that would be described as a Canadian food, I think this is the closest thing you'd probably find now, just because there's such a multicultural aspect to Canada that it's hard to pick something out with all the different cultures, and I think this is probably one of those very rare things you could pick out.
This is the first time I've been here, and it's one of the first times I've actually been in Canada, so I feel like it's important that this was one of the first places I actually purchased food at.
How did you find out about Tim Hortons?
I was really just walking in the mall and where my cousin actually go to grad school here, and I was thirsty and I wanted to get some drink. They were like, "Oh, you should try here because they have the step tea where all the Canadians drink." Yeah.
I've never really thought about it before consciously, but
Yes, certainly, absolutely, 100%. I'm just a deep believer that food is what culture is all about. So, yeah.
thinking about it now, probably. I think Tim Hortons is a big part of Canada, and I guess for different nationalities in Canada, for Chinese people, I know I'm half Chinese, we have dim sum on Sundays, so that's an important part. So yeah, I definitely think like double doubles, Timbits. I think it's all part of the Canadian identity. Yeah. Perfect.
I think it does. I mean, it goes hand in hand with a lot of cultures. So I mean, you go to anywhere and they've got foods that identify them, and I feel like this ties in really well with Canada and what we represent, which is kind people that care about what they're doing, and it's not even just beaver tails. It's our community, our country as a whole. So I think so.
I can answer.
As Canadian, our cuisine is really simple, but it uses local ingredients a lot. So I find, well, you had a burger that had maple. It was like a maple bacon burger. So maple syrup is very Canadian. So
I don't know what that burger, but it was good.
So I do believe that our food justified. I don't know if that was the question. Okay.
Hold on. I think not only the food we eat, but how we prepare it kind of identifies us as Canadians. An interesting example of this was a recent thing that was done in Quebec where the Quebec government allowed a select few of restaurants to actually cook and serve game meat. So this means, serving beaver, muskrat, squirrel, locally harvested mushrooms out of the forest, like food that comes from our natural environment. And they took traditional ways to prepare this. I think stuff like that forms our identity around being Canadian and traditional ways of bringing our food together on a plate. It starts at the restaurant, but I think if we translate it to our everyday eating habits at home, getting local food, cooking them in traditional ways, I think that can be an that can form our identity around what we eat. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think if you talk to any Canadians, I think we all like to eat an excessive amount, and we all like to, especially on the weekends, and I think that's a big part with us. Everyone likes to go out drinking at the bars and go out to the clubs, and then after they're done, they need their comfort food, whether it be McDonald's or us or a shawarma or whatever it is. There's a number of unique things that are in Ottawa that aren't, a little trickier to find other places, but especially for the night crowd and being right in the market, it's perfect because everyone has to eat when they're in the market. That's really the whole point of coming down here, right? So.
Did you get all that?
Food? No, I don't. I think it probably helps in other places, but we're quite eclectic with our food, so I'm not sure that it forms my identity that way.
To be honest with you, last year I was working down at the Heart and Crown, and I stopped working there. It just wasn't working out, and I kind of just had to scramble to find a job, and I didn't even know that the place. Last time I came by here, it was a record store. So I just didn't even know that it was here, and I kind of just swung by dropping off resumes and stuff, and I saw that it was here, and I was very fortunate to get a job when I did, and I've kind of gotten sucked right into it since then. Like, I've been going down to Toronto for workshops, and we had the big poutine eating contest down in Toronto that we did this summer, and that was a lot of fun too. So
I'm from Montreal, and there it's queue de castor. So every winter we go down to the old port and get some beaver tails, and obviously I guess here it's the same with the Rideau Canal. I think I probably found out about them when I was about 10 years old. There's a park in Montreal called La Ronde, and they have beaver tails there with these kind of drinks that they have on the side. So I found out about them when I was younger, and yeah, they've kind of just always been in Montreal, and I guess Ottawa as well. So I guess I'm not sure if I would say out west or in the prairies they eat beaver tails, but I definitely think it's part of the Canadian experience, and at least for Eastern Canada, I think it's important. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm new to Ottawa, and I was looking for authentic poutine because I'm from the prairies. So I was like, we should do this the right way. And someone told us about this, so that's how we ended up here.